Hi, I wanted to do a video on the law of expansion. I've kind of been listening to someone called Teal Swan, who I really admire. So if you want to look her up, go for it. Yeah, I wanted to make a channel based around all these different like things that I want to say and all the things that I think with different topics with spirituality and kind of just taking all the different things that I think and about different types of spirituality and like how I don't know, just things that I think. But yeah, or things that I've liked. Not that I've created most of it. Um, but yeah, so I want to talk about the law of expansion. I'm doing this one first because I just think I think it's one of the most important things I could talk about, if that's even a thing that can be the most important. But yeah, so to start with, I'm gonna pretend. So there's as a concept, there's a general like consensus with like spirituality. Like you look at a few different religions, and it's all they all kind of have different words for the same thing. Um, so there's the general idea that there's God, um, and which is I'm gonna call it the high. Like there's God, but then there's kind of a kind of an area called the higher self, which is it's all everything's God for me. And what it does is it pretends this book is your higher self. This is kind of God. And what it wants to do is it wants to learn more and it wants to expand its knowledge. So one way of doing that is it can come into physical reality. So this is the connection between me, between the higher self and what it wants to learn. So it's like and then there's me. So I'm a physical manifestation of this higher self and what it wants to learn. It chose, the parents, the time, like the egg, the sperm, the astrological alignments. It chose everything so that it could become that. And it wants to understand that. It wants to expand its knowledge and understand itself. God wants to, yeah, so pretty much. So this is the connection. It's like the feed between the two. And pretty much, so the whole point of expansion, so I'm going to pretend this rock, crystal, is, let's just call it, so it's desire. It's expansion. Expansion and desire are like pretty interchangeable. So you can't see the bottom of my bed, so I'll just put it here. So pretty much, so this is higher consciousness, and it's saying, I want to understand how it would be if Nat got this. I want to understand this. So pretend this thing's emotions. I'm going to have I'm going to have positive emotions towards this crystal or said desire. And I'm going to want to go in the direction towards it. So I'm going to have positive emotions towards that. So when I listen to my emotions and I go, okay, I want that. I'm going to, because there's a distance, but then you follow it. I'm in my alignment. I'm on my path. So literally your happiness is your path. There's no, let's just say you wanted to, you need to save the world and I'm really upset and that makes me miserable kind of thing. I don't know. But, it's pretty much saying like, oh, here's a better example. Like a desk job that makes you miserable isn't following your joy. So just because you want money, I don't know. It's just, you follow your joy and that's your path and things will work out. And it's like, I'll make a whole lot of videos for like following your path and making sure you still get like, stable life, because there's concepts that like come into that play. But pretty much so far, desire, positive emotion towards it, you go to it. And I don't need to say, just live your life and be happy and go towards your positive emotions and stuff. What I want to talk about is what prevents you from doing that, because there's a lot of talk in this, like in the spiritual community, about the law of attraction and if your mind creates reality, then all I have to do is think positive thoughts and yada yada yada. And it's pretty much it's really detrimental. So desire here. But what happens? How many of you? I'm gonna tell you, it's all of you, who have wanted a desire, but then you think, oh, I'm not good enough for that, and you pull in the, so that's a positive emotion, but you're feeding into the positive emotions if you go towards it, but you're feeding into negative ones if you're going against it, and you're literally thinking negative things about the things that you want is like going against your path. You know, so let's just say, oh, I really want that job, but I'm not smart enough for it. I won't get that ATAR. Like, so, you know, and you're pulling against yourself. But, you know, that's a genuine concern. You can't, and these negative belief systems are based around emotions. You can't deny the way you feel. You feel the way you feel. So let's just say, you know, I feel like I can't get this unconditional love. This is unconditional love. I feel like I can't get it. Bang, bang, bang. Like, and with the spiritual community, a lot of people say, oh, you know, but if your mind creates reality and you're supposed to follow your positive emotions, then I've got to be blindsided. I've got to block out any negative feeling that I have and just bulldoze for it, kind of thing. But the whole point is that they're emotional wounds. You can't pretend like you don't feel something. It's almost like saying, oh, you know, my expansion, my desire is to run that race, but, and I've got a broken leg, but I don't want to acknowledge that I've got a broken leg, because that's negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be blind to my negative leg, and I'm going to run that race, but what's going to happen? You're going to be fucking broken after it. And sometimes, you know, I know for me, if I've got a negative thing, I'm not going to go for it at all if I've got, even if, even though, like, you can still technically try, but you've got all these wounds. Okay. Like, you can have all these wounds to it, but a lot of the time people don't even go for it because sometimes it's not even like a broken leg, it's like an anchor and you can't even go anywhere because it's just there, kind of thing. So the point isn't to say like, oh, just follow your positive emotions. What I want to talk about is how to get that anchor or whatever it is how to heal those negative emotions, because, you know, like as a baby, you're not brought up thinking, oh, I don't deserve love. That's like what circumstances teach you. That's what, you know, that's what life kind of implements on you, and that's how you learn. And a lot of this learning and all these emotional wounds kind of start from when you're like in the womb to like when you're around 8 years old. So yeah, let's have a look at my book to see my notes. Okay. So pretty much how this can kind of go is that, we call, some spiritual people call, these, like, so when you have a negative like belief system, or like you have an emotional reaction to something that makes you to a desire, and you think like, oh, you almost have like an emotional flavor, and it's like a sensation. It's like a physical feeling, but it's not like, oh, someone like whacking your head or something like that. It's more you look, you know, but you know, but yeah, so it's kind of like a sensation. It's almost like it's a feeling. So what you try to do is, instead of running away from that feeling and suppressing it, rejecting it, and because that's all imagine like a kid coming up to you and screaming and crying, saying how that it's so sad and everything like that. You wouldn't kick it. You wouldn't tell it to fuck off. You wouldn't do everything in your power to not hear it. And that kid is literally that kid inside you, and it won't fuck off somewhere. It's gonna stay there, and it's gonna get louder and louder till you actually hear it, until you almost don't have a choice, kind of things, and face it, because it's not going to go anywhere. It's almost like an emotional. It's an emotional wound. Imagine let's just say you've got a broken foot. It's gonna keep hurting until you treat it. Um, so, so what you do is once you get that kind of emotional reaction, or you have like a belief system and you kind of feel that feeling, you kind of, what you do is you don't run away from it. You don't run away from that kid anymore. What you do is you kind of listen, you just listen to it. So what you do is you kind of, you feel the feeling completely and be present with it. Um, you be present with it. So then, so once you, so you do that for a bit, it's almost, it feels a bit like relief a little bit. So once you do that, then you kind of say, so then you treat the actual wound. So so you've acknowledged it. The kids kind of stop crying, and and then you kind of say, okay, when was the first time I experienced this feeling? And your brain will literally give it to you. I've brought it up to a couple of my mates, and they said, but what if they're worried like, oh, that the memory won't come and stuff like that. But it literally, the reason why it gets like, it keeps like the emotion keeps coming is because it wants you to realize, your body wants you to realize. If you ask for it, of course it's gonna like just be like, thank you. You're pretty much just like giving me permission to give you this kind of thing. Um, yeah, so yeah, and to be fair, like a few, like some things that have made me really bloody upset in my life, like the emotions that I've had, I go back to the actual memory, and it's pathetic. Like it's, I remember the first one I ever did was, I started hearing, Peppa Pig, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? And then I see myself, I'm on the couch and stuff like that, and I'm watching Peppa Pig, and it's just kind of just feeling, I'm sitting there with, because I've got crazy curly hair kind of thing, and I wouldn't brush it. So as a kid, it would like dreadlock, and it was just a mess. And I was just, I'd get up late, and I'd kind of have my blankie, and like I would just kind of like, I just look like a homeless wreck, and I would feel gross. So and then like so, and in my everyday life, every now and then I'd be like, why is me just sitting here not doing anything? Why do I just feel so disgusting? You know what I mean? Like it's an emotion, um, and useless, and you know, um, and all those kind of things that I felt the emotional flavor of, like when I was like 5 or something like that. And it was literally me just sitting there feeling useless, and it was, and I just didn't feel it through fully. So that it could be like as pathetic as that to like, it's like it's full like PTSD kind of stuff. Teal Swan, the person that made this, she survived being in a cult, like being taken by a cult, and sexual abuse, ritual abuse, all that kind of stuff, and she escaped when she was about 19, and she made this, for, it is built for all ends of the spectrum of trauma of, oh, I really wanted that cookie when I was 5 and I didn't get that cookie, to, whatever you can, to the extremes of the earth kind of thing. It's built for everything. And I think, like, like I've got trauma too. And I think if, like, I know it's really hard to kind of sit with it, but I think you'll be surprised about how much you can actually feel, and acknowledge. And it's so empowering when you do it. Like, instead of just being triggered all over the place, you can kind of just, it's really empowering. So anyway, so once you get to this memory, what you do is you validate it, you feel it, you try and get into first perspective if you can. So you feel the emotion completely, and you validate the kid, and just literally like just let them be upset, let yourself be upset, and just feel it, because the healing comes from just feeling the emotion fully, because you didn't do that in that moment. Um, and then maybe once you've done that, you can kind of ask, you can go into it as yourself, like as you are like right now, and kind of ask the kid, is there anything, like, what do you need to feel better? So then this is the, let's say, um, I don't know. So like I'll do one of mine. So let's just say I felt neglected. I'll get my, you can do anything. You can do anything. At one stage in my life, like I wanted my parents to notice me or something like that. In that one small moment, doesn't mean they're awful parents. Maybe in that one time where you were a toddler and they were just cooking, or it could really be anything. So you can like magic them to stop cooking and show you affection and play with you for the rest of your life, kind of thing. Whatever that kid wants. Um, yeah, it could be anything, or even like just presence. Like if they want you just to hug them, it doesn't. It could be anything. Let's just say, yeah. So yeah, so once you do that, and then just kind of wait for relief and stuff like that. So that's kind of the process. But I do have to say, um, if like let's just say like because I'll talk about this in a different episode, in a different like thing, but sometimes people can use this to not actually heal. So let's just say like oh, what I was about to say is like I'll talk about physical manifestations, like physical symptoms, in a different one, but they really go in hand with what I'm talking about. So pretty much what I want to say as an example of this. So someone that I know has got sleep apnea, and I told them about the meditation, and they did it, and it didn't quite help. It helped a bit. It helped a lot actually, but it wasn't like done. So they still have a bit of it, and I just said to them, and they're like, "Why isn't it working?" And then I thought, okay, forget the meditation. Like, and they're like, "What?" They're like, and I just said, "Okay, pretend like you're gonna have this for the next 20 years, and that it's never gonna go away, and you just have to accept it, kind of thing." And they thought like, "I don't want to do that. Fuck that." And the reason why I said that is because if you're doing it to feel better, it's almost like, yeah, like in a certain way you can do it to feel better, but you're still going in it trying to fully feel it. But if you go into it and like let's just say, use the metaphor of the kid. So the kid's here and it's crying to you, and you go to it, you hug it, you're like, I'm only like here to make you feel better so that I can feel better. I don't really care about how you feel. I just want you to go away, yada yada yada. That kid's gonna be fucking more upset than it was before. So so if you try and do this meditation and it's not really working, chances are you're just kind of doing that thing you don't really like. You're patting you on the back, but you're kind of half disgusted, kind of thing, and don't really want to like get into it. I think the sun just went away. So yeah, so I would suggest kind of. I'm doing a video. Just maybe put it in the fridge. Can you put it in the fridge? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So maybe if it's not working, just kind of leave it. Or, and this is something else I have to say. If it's an emotion that's pretty hard to deal with, what your brain can kind of do is it kind of goes into defense mode. So as soon as you start feeling it, it'll almost like numb it out. So what you do is you kind of feel the numbness a bit. So, and then what'll kind of happen is it'll kind of turn into the emotion again, and it'll probably be a bit intenser than what it was before, and it'll numb out again, and then you just kind of feel the numbness, and it'll turn into it again. It's because it's your brain's got. If it's like a bit more serious, though, it doesn't even need to be too serious, but if it just for one reason or another really affected you, and you just don't want to feel it, your brain can kind of shut it off for you, for you. So there's that. So yeah, so then once you have taken that anchor off, because it's almost like how I was saying, like, so pretty much like, you're as a baby, you're not born wondering whether you can have love. You just kind of have love for you. Your mum or something, or whoever it is, takes care of you, and you're not thinking, oh, do I deserve this? Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Like, that's not, that's not what happens. So then, and it's almost like you've got this whole light, you've got all this positive emotions, and then the muck kind of gets off it, like comes onto it. And then once you do this, you heal the wound, you kind of take the muck off. And not only is the pain gone, but the opposite of it comes back again. It shines through. It's like if you didn't have self-worth, suddenly you've got your self-worth again. It's not even like the pain of having or thinking, oh, I'm worthless. It's like suddenly that's gone, and then you get the thing of, oh, I'm worthy. You know what I mean? Like, and the idea of worthiness also, I can make a whole other video about. It pisses me off. But yeah, uh, the light's fucking fucked. Okay. So yeah, so let's just say, so you've got the anchor off, and then you can just go to your desire. But the one thing I do have to say though is that, you know, you can go to your desire, but don't think that, like, you're supposed to have, so the things that you want, it's not like the world's against you and the things you want you're not supposed to want. But the whole point is that the universe wants you to go for it, and it wants you to want those things. But let's just say, you know, so you like this thing, and you want to go after it, and you go after it. It wants you to go after it and however you want to go. So let's just say it's a friendship, you want to go after it. Cool, I went after it, now you're there and you've experienced it. It doesn't mean that they're going to be your best mates. But the whole point is, I don't want to say that they're not going to be, but like, because the whole point is that you do follow your happiness, and that the best, like, luck does exist, but it's the universe supporting you on your path. But the whole point is, I've had a couple of people ask me, like, oh, if I really like this person, does that mean that I'm almost entitled to them? You're not entitled to anyone. And no one, and vice versa, no one, if they want you, one way or another, no one's entitled to anything. The whole point is that you're supposed to connect with that person and their boundaries. So you know what I mean? Like, you don't own anyone, and that really, it pisses me off. But it's a fair question. Like, it's a fair question, but yeah. So pretty much, let's just say you have a thing for someone, but you've got a thing of, oh, I'm not worthy. Get rid of that worthiness. No, so suddenly you've got worth, or you've got this, or you've got that. You go after it, and then that's going to be a whole experience that you don't even know. So I feel like when people say, oh, I want happiness, and this is how I'm going to get it, through this person, this way, and this, you're giving the universe this much room to give you all that happiness that you think you want, because those things might not actually make you happiest. Maybe it wants you to go after this thing because for reasons that you think you don't even know, and then it turns out to be something completely different. So what I like to do is say to the universe, like, just I like just following my emotions, not knowing what it's going to be, but just keep acting on how I feel. And yeah, so just leave, because the universe, like, higher self, knows you better than you know yourself. So just kind of follow it, and don't give it this much room to be able to give you the things that you want. Just kind of follow your emotions. It's literally like your compass to alignment, and literally luck as well. Yeah. Okay.